Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you as we're doing a new thing this year on Facebook Live after each and every game that at least we're together on at home or on the road.
Most of them.
Exactly. But the Saints, we've seen this happen before. Another loss here in the Superdome, lose 35-34 in quite stunning fashion for the Saints. The Raiders go for two at the end of the game. They get it, and it basically wipes away all of the good that the Saints had done. Basically, for the first 3.5 quarters, the Saints looked like they were rolling, and they rolled over. And that's we've seen it before, and they're doing it again to open this season.
Well, look, the fans here got their money's worth. There's no question. I mean, that was an exciting game. Didn't turn out the way Saints fans wanted. The Saints led most of the way. I mean, I'd say 3/4 of this game they were playing with the lead. But this is the way this season's gonna be, and Saints fans should be used to it by now. I mean, this is a team that has very little margin for error. They're not ultra talented, so they're gonna be in a lot of these coin flip games, and it's gonna come down to a play or two here or there, and they just don't have much margin for error.
And if you hadn't been checking on our website and on any of our Twitter feeds, some pretty big news. Our beat writer Josh Katzenstein reporting that Delvin Breaux seems to have sustained a broken fibula. It's the same injury that Sheldon Rankin suffered. If I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he had the same thing. We just don't know what the extent of it is.
Right.
The good news is those kind of injuries can heal. It's better than a knee injury or a joint injury, but it's not good news in any way for the Saints. I mean, I think you could argue he's one of the 3 or 4 most indispensable players on the team because they just don't have much depth or talent. I shouldn't say talent, depth or experience behind him.
Absolutely, and we saw toward the end of the game the Raiders started taking advantage of those inexperienced cornerbacks. All 3 of them, P.J. Williams, Devontae Harris, Ken Crawley, making their NFL regular season debuts. And look, the Saints are going to have to ride with these guys because let's put it in perspective here. Sheldon Rankins is going to miss at least half the season on short-term IR. So where does that put Breaux? And if you don't have your legs ready, obviously you can't play cornerback.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a guy they cannot afford to lose. I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, he's the one true bona fide experienced corner that they've got. He's playing at a very high level, has been, and they just have nothing really in the way of experience behind him. And the Raiders, it took them a while to kind of figure it out. I mean, he went out in the second quarter, I think, and they really kind of were conservative until like about the fourth quarter and then opened it up, and we saw what happened. And look, these guys are competing. They're not like having major gaffes. If I were a Saints fan, one encouraging thing with the defense was they looked to be all on the same page. I thought they tackled well for the most part, except for that one long run they gave up. And, there wasn't a lot of just bonehead mistakes like we saw under Rob Ryan, but we didn't see the pass rush once again. That is going to be, I think, a continuing problem for this team.
And you're really going to need a pass rush with inexperienced corners back there.
Yeah.
It's going to be imperative. We didn't see it yet. And on the other side, look, Drew Brees was on fire. Brandon Cooks, Willie Snead, Michael Thomas. I mean, it was not their fault they lost. And the offensive line protected Brees pretty well. He was only sacked once, and Khalil Mack was held in check. If you're thinking the Saints are going to score 34 points against the Raiders in the Dome, you would think that would be a win.
Yeah, and I was actually impressed with the Raiders coming back the way they did. I mean, it would have been easy for them to roll over. This was an incredible environment here for the opener. And look, credit to Jack Del Rio for going for it there at the end. I mean, he could have played the safe route and gone to overtime, but I think he felt like, you know what, Drew Brees is lighting us up here. We're going to go for it right now, and look, it got him a win.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, though. Look, we've seen the Saints for so many years recently lose that Week 1 game, and it hasn't turned out well. The only time they've lost a Week 1 game in the last, let's say, since 2011, the only time that they've made the playoffs is that year. Look, they lost in 11, they got to the playoffs. 12, they lost, didn't go to the playoffs. 13, they won, did go to the playoffs. Last 2 years, obviously, they lost, didn't go. So it's going to be a tough stretch, and we know how imperative we've been talking about for months. They need a fast start. They lose game 1, and now they got to go to the Giants.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a bunch more of these kind of games. Mm-hmm. This Giants game next week is probably going to be another cliffhanger. It's going to go down to the fourth quarter, and who can make a play here or there, who's going to get the ball last maybe, is kind of the way these games get decided. And that's life, the reality of life when you're in the middle class in the NFL the way the Saints are. They're not dominant the way they used to be, and they're still very young, so they're going to have these growing pains.
Absolutely. So check out all of our coverage of all things Saints at NOLA.com, and of course in our print edition of the Times-Picayune. And Jeff and I have columns that are about to go live, and all of our observations and everything else, videos, you name it, we've got it.
Yeah, report on Delvin Breaux.
Absolutely.
That's going to be something we continue to follow.
No question about it. So for Jeff Duncan, for Larry Holder, thanks for joining us here on Facebook Live.